We're looking at the West Virginia Emergency Assistance Act, which provides small businesses with the original bill that came out of the House provided a long laundry list of potential options for folks to be able to access in case of an emergency. We're changing the bill pretty substantially to make it simply a loan program. The loan program will not require emergency rules to be written. There'll be legislative rules written that will put the framework of the loan program in place, and then it can be instituted by simply an executive order of the governor in any time there's a declared emergency. So the governor can decide whether a loan program is appropriate during a state of emergency, or whether it's a different kind of a state of emergency that we may not, the loan program for small businesses. We're limiting it to small businesses with 50 or less employees. We're putting a cap on the size of the loan and also the total amount of money that can be used for the loan program, and setting an interest rate of one half of whatever the prime rate, the federal prime rate is. So it could go up and down, but it would be appropriate for the time whenever the disaster is. This is a bill that we think will be in place for a long time, so we don't want to tie it to any particular number. So it's simply going to be a loan program that will be kind of a micro loan program, small amounts, perhaps up to $5,000 per loan, that will help small businesses get over the hump in case of a state of emergency. You know, most of these don't last. The critical part of the state of emergency doesn't last for a long time. So we're going to give them 2 years to pay the loans off. We're going to allow the loan applications to come in within 90 days of the close of the state of emergency. So when the governor says the state of emergency no longer exists, then they'll have 90 days to go through their records and see what kind of losses they have and then apply for the loan. So we're going to just make it a small business loan program for emergency situations. We're going to cap the amount, the proposal. I say we're going to do this. Of course, it has to go through committee and then through the Finance Committee and then through the House, so it could get changed along the way. But the proposal is that the maximum amount of loan for any one emergency would be $2 million without additional appropriation from the legislature. And that's about the amount of money that the governor has in his civil contingency fund. So that's we're not directing where the governor needs to take the money from, but most people think it would come out of the governor's civil contingency fund. And then if there is more need, if it's a huge emergency situation, affects a lot of people, it might be that that's not enough money, and then the governor can call the legislature back into special session and we can appropriate additional money for a loan program. Well, there were lots of concerns because there was, number one, it was an emergency program that required emergency rules to be developed by the Department of Homeland Security, and they had to figure out what kind of a program they wanted, where the money was going to come from, who was going to run the program, what the application was going to look like. So I think it was pretty clear that it was going to be an emergency program which would have a very difficult time responding to an emergency. The program that we're proposing is a loan program that can be put in place essentially one day after the governor declares the emergency. He can sign an executive order and the loans then would be available essentially immediately, because legislative rules would have been developed, an application would have been developed, a process on how all of this is going to work would already be in place. So that's part of it. There was also a lot of concerns about, there were no caps on the money, so it essentially allowed any amount of money to be used in a loan program, and it also allowed for other kinds of it didn't specify, the original bill did not specify anything with regard to whether it would be loans, would be grants, would be tax credits, it could be anything. So members in the Senate felt like we needed to kind of rein it in a little bit, tighten it up, so that we knew what it is, what kinds of programs we're going to put out there. And there's also a lot of those programs the governor already has authority to do, but he does not have the authority to do a small business loan program. Well, I don't know that there was a lot of concern because those folks report to the governor. So the governor was going to ultimately be the one who made the ultimate decision as to what would happen. So I don't think that was as big a concern as there was more concern over, there was really no framework of what the program, it was just kind of we're going to figure out some way to help small businesses in this with emergency rules. And we think the way that we've outlined it now with a loan program, that it'll be much more in place, ready to go, and will solve the issues that the small businesses have in a relatively short term.